This old farmer standing before you killed no one during World War II, but he taught 500 men how to kill, and those men changed the course of history. The year is 1995. The place a quiet state park in upstate New York. An elderly man, 78 years old, stands before a small bronze plaque mounted on a weathered stone. His hands gnarled with age and work trace the engraved letters. His eyes still sharp despite the years read words that most visitors pass without noticing. Site of World War II training facility, 1941 to 1946. Nothing more. No details, no names, just those simple words guarding a secret that was buried for 50 years. His name is Thomas Reeves. Once he was Tommy, a lumberjack from these very mountains, a boy who thought he understood what courage meant, what sacrifice required, what his country needed from him. He was wrong about all of it. The place where he learned the truth, where he was transformed from a simple woodsman into something else entirely, was called Station Wolf, a 260-acre farm that officially never existed, a school for assassins hidden in plain sight, a factory that produced the most dangerous human beings America has ever created, and the training everyone could see, the explosions and gunfire and brutal physical conditioning, that was just the cover story. The real secret was buried underground in a basement operation so classified that even the instructors had no idea what was happening beneath their feet. How does a lumberjack from the Adirondacks become one of the deadliest instructors in American history? How does a farm in neutral America months before Pearl Harbor become the birthplace of the CII? And what price did these men pay for the secrets they carried? The answers begin on a spring morning in 1940 across the Atlantic Ocean, in a smoke-filled room out of the streets of London. May 28, 1940, 15 hours before midnight. The cabinet war rooms deep underground, the air thick with cigar smoke and the metallic taste of fear. Winston Churchill paces, back and forth, his face a bulldog mask of defiance, but his eyes betray the truth. Britain is losing, not slowly, not gradually, catastrophically. The news from France is apocalyptic. The British Expeditionary Force, trapped on the beaches of Dunkirk, is being evacuated in a desperate gamble. A fleet of civilian boats, fishing vessels, and pleasure yachts sailing into hell to save what remains of an army. France is collapsing. Belgium has surrendered. Holland crushed. Norway lost. Britain stands alone. A small island against the seemingly invincible Nazi war machine that has conquered all of Europe in a matter of weeks. The German High Command is finalizing plans for Operation Sea Lion, the invasion of Great Britain. The conventional war, the war of gentlemen of battle lines and declared fronts, is over, and Britain has lost. Churchill convenes a secret meeting. The men gathered around the table are exhausted, hollow-eyed, drinking tea that has gone cold. He looks at Hugh Dalton, his new Minister of Economic Warfare, and speaks in a voice like grinding stone. We must prepare for a new kind of war, a war of attrition, a war of nerve. The old rules are dead. The Marquis of Queensberry rules do not apply when fighting a rabid dog. The British Army, what remains of it, can defend the beaches, but it cannot free Europe. Not like this. Not in straight lines and formation marching. Not in the way wars have always been fought. Churchill has a new idea, a desperate idea, an idea born of insurgency and back alley fighting and terror. He needs an organization that will operate in the shadows. Men and women who can move like ghosts inside Hitler's fortress Europe. They will not capture territory. They will create chaos. They will link up with local resistance movements, arm them, train them, blow up bridges, assassinate generals, derail supply trains, destroy factories. They will be a cancer eating the Third Reich from within. On July 19, 1940, Churchill gives Dalton a directive. He scrawls it on a slip of paper. Just 4 words that will birth a revolution in warfare, and now set Europe ablaze. From this order, a new clandestine organization is born, the Special Operations Executive, SOE. Its purpose so secret it is known to only a handful of men. Its mission to coordinate all action by way of subversion and sabotage against the enemy overseas. It is, in short, a ministry of ungentlemanly warfare. But there is one catastrophic problem. The idea is brilliant. The reality is impossible. Britain has no one to do this. The British military is trained to march in formation, to fire rifles and volleys, to fight on battlefields with honor. and according to rules that go back centuries. They are not trained to pick locks, crack safes, build bombs from household materials, or kill a man in silence with a piece of piano wire. Where do you find teachers for an art that does not officially exist? Where do you train these new agents without German spies just across the channel seeing and reporting everything the SOE has created? But it is an empty shell, a mission without means. The generals of the Allied High Command are stumped. They need a solution, and they need it immediately. They cannot believe where the solution will come from. It will not come from the ancient halls of Oxford or the parade grounds of Sandhurst. It will come from a quiet office in Rockefeller Center, New York City. It will come from a man the world believes is a mild-mannered Canadian industrialist, a wealthy businessman with interests in steel and radio manufacturing. To Churchill and secretly to President Roosevelt, he is something else entirely. His name is Charles Thornton. His code name is Sentinel. And he is about to propose something so audacious, so unprecedented, that when Allied commanders first hear it, they will think he has lost his mind. September 1940, New York City, Rockefeller Center, 51st floor, room 3603. From the windows you can see the entire city, the spires of Manhattan reaching toward autumn clouds, the Hudson River gray and cold flowing south, ships in the harbor, cars on the streets below tiny as toys. Charles Thornton stands at those windows, hands clasped behind his back, and watches America go about its business. A nation at peace. A nation that has no idea what is coming. He is 45 years old, tall, lean, with the bearing of a military officer, though he wears an expensive civilian suit. His hair is graying at the temples. His eyes, pale blue, miss nothing. He is a man who has spent his entire adult life reading people, reading situations, understanding the invisible currents that move nations in wars. In the First World War, he flew reconnaissance missions over France, survived being shot down twice, learned that wars are won by information as much as by bullets. After the war, he built a fortune in Canadian industry, steel mills, radio factories, shipping companies. All of it, every dollar, every connection was preparation for this moment. His official title is British Passport Control Officer for the Western Hemisphere. A laughably transparent cover. His real job is to run all British intelligence operations in North and South America. He is Churchill's personal link to Washington, operating in the shadows long before America enters the war. And he has a problem that keeps him awake at night. The SOE needs a school, but that school cannot be in Britain. Too small, too exposed, too crawling with spies. He needs a place that is secure, discreet, with access to raw materials for both explosives and recruitment. A place close enough to the neutral United States that he can begin secretly training Americans who he knows will soon be dragged into this fight and will have even less idea than the British about how to conduct espionage. He has been searching for 3 months, looked at properties in Canada, Scotland, remote islands in the Caribbean. None of them right. Then in October, his scouts find it, a 260-acre farm in upstate New York near the small industrial town of Oshawa. Abandoned for 2 years since the owner died. Foreclosed. Sitting empty. The land borders Lake Champlain, surrounded by forested hills and gullies, 15 miles from the nearest town. Perfect. The geography is ideal. The flat land near the lake is a perfect ground plane for radio signals. The forests provide natural cover. The gullies will dampen the sound of explosions. And most importantly, it is in America, neutral America, where German intelligence has limited reach and where Thornton already has connections at the highest levels. He picks up the telephone, places a call to Washington. The line connects through 3 relays scrambled secure. After 2 minutes of familiar voice answers, "Mr. President, I believe I have found our solution." President Franklin Roosevelt listens, asks 3 questions, then agrees. On one condition: total secrecy. Congress cannot know, the American public cannot know. If this goes wrong, if the press discovers that the United States is training foreign assassins on American soil while claiming neutrality, the political consequences will be catastrophic. Thornton accepts the terms. He always knew this would be a shadow operation. In November 1940, construction begins. The cover story is simple: the North Atlantic Agricultural Research Station. Cold weather crop testing for military supply lines. Boring, bureaucratic, the kind of thing people ignore. Local contractors are hired to build barracks. renovate the old farmhouse, install a perimeter fence. They are told it is a government project. They are paid well. They do not ask questions. But while the visible construction proceeds, something else is happening. A team of engineers working only at night begins excavating beneath the farmhouse, digging down, reinforcing, installing electrical systems and ventilation, building something that will not appear on any blueprint. By December, Station Wolf is ready. From the outside, it looks like nothing. A few simple wooden barracks, a flagpole without a flag, the old farmhouse, brick and timber, sitting quiet in the winter landscape, a barbed wire fence, guards at the gate who tell curious locals that it is a driver training facility for military vehicles. The lie is perfect because it is boring. Inside in offices that smell of fresh lumber and coffee, Thornton assembles his staff. And this is where the true genius of his plan reveals itself. He is not hiring soldiers to teach soldiers. He is hiring men who have lived in the shadows their entire lives. Men who have survived by breaking every rule of civilized combat. Men who are by any gentlemanly standard criminals and thugs. The most important arrives in late December. A small man, 58 years old, wearing wire-rimmed glasses and a wool coat. He looks like a librarian, soft-spoken, polite. The kind of man you would pass on the street without a second glance. His name is Robert Garrison. For 30 years, he was a detective in the Shanghai Municipal Police, the most dangerous crime-ridden city on earth. He fought a daily war against triads, kidnappers, street gangs. He has been shot 3 times, stabbed twice, and has 8 assassination attempts recorded in his file. He survived all of it, not through luck, through skill, through the development of his own system of combat, which he calls the Garrison Method. It is not a sport. It is not for honor or competition. It is the science of winning a life-or-death fight in seconds, maximum damage, minimum time. He can kill with a fountain pen, with a rolled newspaper, with a teacup, with his bare hands in a dozen different ways. His motto, repeated so often it has become legend among those who know him, is simple. Get tough, get down, get it over with. With him comes James Crawford, 43 years old, Garrison's partner from the Shanghai days, a firearms expert and metallurgist. Together they have designed a knife, not a tool, not a utility blade, a weapon with one purpose only, to kill a man. The Garrison Crawford knife, 7 inches of double-edged steel, thin, sharp as a surgeon's scalpel, designed to slip between ribs to puncture lungs and heart, to withdraw, leaving almost no external wound, but catastrophic internal damage. It is a weapon of assassination. Another instructor arrives, Margaret Winters, 35 years old, Irish accent still thick after years in America. She was until recently part of the Irish Republican Army's technical division, an expert in explosives and demolition. She defected after one of her bombs killed civilians, children. She carries that guilt like a stone in her chest. She has come to America to make amends, to use her knowledge against true evil instead of in a civil war that consumed her youth and idealism. She is the only woman on the instructor staff. Some of the men object. Garrison shuts them down with one sentence. She has killed more men with explosives than all of you combined. If you have a problem with that, leave now. No one leaves. This is the faculty. These are the headmasters. And in January 1941, just as America sleeps through its last winter of peace, the first students arrive. They come in darkness. 32 men on a bus with blackened windows. The bus rolls through the frozen New York countryside, past farms and small towns, where people are settling in for the night, unaware of what is passing through their quiet world. Among those 32 is Thomas Reeves. Tommy, 24 years old, 6 feet tall, 180 pounds of lean muscle built from years of logging work in the Adirondack forests. His hair is dark, his eyes are green, his hands are calloused from axe handles and saw grips. He grew up in these mountains. His father died in France during the First World War when Tommy was 2 years old. He has no memory of him. Just a photograph on his mother's mantle and stories told by men who served with him. Stories of courage and sacrifice and duty. Tommy has carried those stories his entire life, carried the weight of a legacy he never knew but always felt. When the recruiter came to his lumber camp 3 weeks ago, he volunteered immediately. This is his chance to honor his father's memory. to serve, to be part of something larger than himself. He has no idea what he is volunteering for. The bus stops. The doors open. Cold January air rushes in sharp enough to burn lungs. The men file out, boots crunching on frozen ground. Before them in the darkness looms a simple wooden building. A single light burns above the door. A man steps forward, small, bespectacled, looks like someone's grandfather. He speaks in a voice like gravel. Forget everything the army taught you. Fair fights are for dead men. You are here to learn murder, not combat, murder. If that bothers you, leave now. 3 men walk away immediately, climb back on the bus. It drives off into the night. The remaining 29 stand in formation, confused, shaken. This is not what they expected. No flags, no anthems, no speeches about liberty and democracy. Garrison continues. Your government needs men who can operate in occupied Europe, behind enemy lines, alone. You will learn to move without sound, to kill without mercy, to destroy infrastructure and vanish like smoke. Some of you will die doing this. Most of you will carry what you learn here for the rest of your lives like a scar. He pauses, lets it sink in. Welcome to Station Wolf, Act 2. The Crucible. The first week is designed to break them. Not physically, though the physical demands are extreme. Mentally, psychologically. To strip away every assumption they have about warfare and honor and what it means to be a soldier. They wake at 5 in the morning to the clang of a bell. The barracks are unheated. Their breath goes in the freezing air. They dress in darkness, pull on boots, stumble outside where stars still burn overhead. The mess hall at least is warm, and the smell that greets them is pure America. Coffee, bacon frying, fresh bread, eggs. Tommy sits with his assigned bunkmate, a man named Jacques Fontaine, 32 years old, French-Canadian, a trapper from Quebec. Dark hair, dark eyes, hands scarred from skinning, knives and trap springs. He has the look of someone who has seen hard things and survived them without softening. Jacques watches Tommy eat with barely concealed amusement. You think this is regular army training? Kid, Tommy looks up. Kid. He bristles slightly. I think we'll find out soon enough. Jacques shakes his head. This is different. You can feel it. No ranks. No uniforms. No saluting. They are training us for something the army does not do. What do you think that is? Jacques meets his eyes. Murder, like the man said. They finish breakfast in silence. Outside, dawn is breaking cold and gray over the mountains. The recruits assemble in a packed dirt courtyard. Garrison appears accompanied by Crawford and Winters. The 3 instructors regard the class with expressions that reveal nothing. Garrison speaks. Today, you learn the first lesson. Silent killing. Follow me. They walk to a building set back from the others, windowless. The door opens to reveal a space unlike anything Tommy has seen in military training. The walls are bare concrete, the floor packed earth. Suspended from the ceiling are a dozen straw dummies roughly human-shaped, hanging from ropes. This is the black room. Garrison moves to the center of the space. Crawford joins him. Garrison is small, barely 5'6". Crawford is large, 6'3", 200 pounds of muscle. Garrison speaks in that same quiet, measured tone. In Shanghai, I arrested over 3,000 criminals, fought hand-to-hand more times than I can count. I learned something simple. Size does not matter. Strength does not matter. What matters is understanding anatomy, physics, and being willing to do what your opponent will not. Watch. Crawford moves toward him, slow, arms up in a fighting stance. Garrison waits, patient, still. Then faster than Tommy's eyes can follow, Garrison moves. A pivot, a strike with the heel of his palm to Crawford's chin. Crawford's head snaps back. Garrison steps behind him, cups his hands over Crawford's helmet, and mimes a violent pull downward. If this were real, Garrison says the steel rim of his helmet would have severed his spinal cord. Death in 3 seconds. Total silence. Crawford straightens, grinning. Good thing we are friends. The class watches stunned. Garrison continues. You will learn 12 methods of silent killing. You will practice them until they become reflex. Because in the field, you will not have time to think. You will have 3 seconds, maybe 5. The enemy sentry turns, sees you, you move, or you die. and your mission fails, and the men depending on you die. He picks up a piece of material from a table. Piano wire, fashioned into a loop with wooden handles. The garrote. Used correctly, it severs the carotid artery. Unconsciousness in 4 seconds. Death in 10. The sound is minimal. A brief struggle, then silence. He demonstrates on a dummy. The wire bites deep into the straw. Tommy can imagine what it would look like on flesh. Can imagine the blood. The desperate silent thrashing. His stomach turns. Now Garrison says you practice. They pair off, Tommy with Jacques. They are given practice garrote, soft rope instead of wire, and instructed to practice the motion. The approach from behind. The loop over the head. The pull. Jacques goes first. His movements are smooth. Practiced. Like he has done this before. Your turn, kid. Tommy takes the rope, approaches the dummy, slips the loop over its head, pulls. The dummy rocks. Nothing more. Harder, Garrison says from across the room. Like you mean it. Like your life depends on it. Because someday it will. Tommy tries again, pulls harder. The rope digs into the straw, better, but still thinking too much. This is not a moral question. This is survival. By the end of the day, Tommy's hands are raw, his shoulders ache, and he has learned 3 methods of killing a man without making a sound. The garrote, the neck snap, the knife thrust to the kidney. That night in the barracks, the men are subdued. No jokes, no camaraderie, just exhaustion and a creeping realization of what they are becoming. Jacques lights a cigarette, offers one to Tommy. You did well today. Tommy shakes his head. I felt sick the whole time. Good. That means you are still human. The ones who enjoy it, those are the ones to worry about. How do you know this stuff, Tommy asks, the way you moved? You have done this before. Jacques exhales, smoke stares at the ceiling. I trapped in the North Woods for 15 years. You learn to move quiet. You learn to kill quick. Animals, sure, but the principles are the same. This is different, is it? Jacques turns his head, looks at Tommy directly. My cousin's village in France was burned by the Germans, women and children. So I ask you, is this different, or is this just doing to them what they have done to others? Tommy has no answer. The weeks that follow blur together, a relentless progression of skills that feel more like crimes than military training. They learn lockpicking in a workshop filled with doors and safes of increasing complexity. An instructor, a former thief who traded prison time for this job, teaches them to feel the pins with wire tools to hear the tumblers fall. They learn forgery, how to replicate Nazi documents, identity papers, travel permits. An artist thin and nervous shows them techniques of aging paper matching ink, copying signatures with perfect precision. They learn codes and ciphers, sit for hours transcribing Morse code until the dots and dashes invade their dreams. And they train physically. Run through the frozen forests, climb ropes, swim in the icy waters of Lake Champlain until their fingers go numb and their lips turn blue. But always underneath every lesson is the unspoken truth. These skills have one purpose: to infiltrate, to destroy, to kill. In week 3 comes the test that breaks some men and transforms others. The pig test. Behind the main barn is a pen. A dozen pigs root in the mud, unaware of what is coming. The recruits are assembled. Each is given a Garrison Crawford knife, 7 inches of polished steel, sharp enough to split a hair. Garrison addresses them. You have learned technique. Now you prove you can apply it. Each of you will kill one of these animals using the methods I taught. Single thrust, specific target, clean and quick. A few men shift uncomfortably. I know what you are thinking, Garrison continues. It is just an animal, but the principle is the same, the resistance of flesh, the blood, the moment of taking a life. If you cannot do this, you cannot do what we need you to do in Europe. He points to the first man. You. Begin. One by one they enter the pen. Some do it quickly, mechanically. Some hesitate, then force themselves. 2 refuse. Walk away. They are removed from the program that day. Tommy is near the end. He watches the others, sees the blood in the mud, hears the sounds. His hands are shaking when his turn comes. He climbs over the fence, selects a pig. Not the largest, not the smallest, just one that happens to look up at him with brown eyes. Trusting, his grandfather raised pigs. Tommy fed them as a child, gave them names. Scratch their backs. This pig does not have a name, but it has eyes. Garrison's voice, quiet but firm, reaches him. In France, it will not be a pig. It will be a Nazi sentry. 19 years old, probably scared, probably has a girlfriend waiting for him. And if you freeze like you are freezing now, your entire team dies. Your mission fails. Hitler wins. Tommy takes a breath. Something inside him shifts, settles, becomes cold. He moves. The knife goes in clean, 4 inches, upward angle, behind the shoulder blade through the ribs, just like Garrison taught. The pig makes one soft sound, then silence. Tommy steps back, looks at the blood on his hands, on the blade. He walks 20 paces, drops to his knees, vomits into the frozen grass. When he stands, Garrison is beside him. The old man places a hand on Tommy's shoulder. You did well. Tommy wipes his mouth. For what? Because you just proved you can do what needs doing. And now you will have to live with that forever. Tommy looks at him. What makes you think I can? Garrison's eyes are sad, ancient, because I have lived with it for 30 years. And if I can carry it, so can you. That night, Tommy lies awake in his bunk. He can still feel the resistance of the knife entering flesh, can still see those brown eyes. He writes a letter home. The words feel hollow. The work is hard but important. I am learning valuable skills. I cannot tell you details, but know that I am serving our country. He does not mention the pig, does not mention what he is becoming. His mother would not understand. How could she? He barely understands himself. Across the room, Jacques smokes in the darkness. You all right, kid? Tommy stares at the ceiling. I do not know who I am anymore. You are the same person you were yesterday. You just know something new about yourself now. What is that you can do terrible things if you believe they are necessary? That does not make you a monster. It makes you a soldier in a war that has no rules. Tommy closes his eyes, tries to sleep, fails. By April 1941, Station Wolf is no longer an experiment. It is a factory. Every 6 weeks, 30 new recruits arrive. Every 6 weeks, 20 to 25 graduate. The rest wash out, broken by the training or by the moral weight of what they are learning. Tommy Reeves is no longer a recruit. He has survived the crucible, passed every test, proven he can do what needs doing. And now as spring arrives in the Adirondack Mountains, he moves into the second phase of training, advanced demolition. The instructor is Margaret Winters, 35 years old, red hair pulled back, severe, green eyes that have seen too much. She stands before the assembled class, 23 men who have already learned to kill in silence, and she holds in her hands a brick of gray material that looks like modeling clay. This, she says, in her Irish accent, is Nobel 808, plastic explosive. It will change how you think about destruction. She walks along the front row, lets them see it up close. The material is soft, pliable. You can mold it like putty. You can drop it from a roof. You can shoot it with a rifle. You can even burn it. Watch. She tears off a corner, places it on a metal plate, strikes a match. The material catches fire, burns with a steady yellow flame like a candle. See, perfectly safe. You could cook your breakfast over it. She lets it burn for 10 seconds, then casually stamps it out. But she pauses, reaches into her pocket, pulls out a small copper tube no bigger than a pencil. This is a detonator. One of these pressed into that same brick, and you have the hand of God. She walks to a stump 50 yards away. The class follows. She has prepared a demonstration, a brick of the explosive molded around the base of a dead tree, a pencil detonator inserted, a wire trailing back to where they stand. When I connect this circuit, she says, holding up the wire, acid inside the detonator will begin eating through a thin metal filament. In 10 minutes, the circuit completes. The detonator fires. The explosive releases its energy in a fraction of a second. She connects the wire to a hand-cranked generator. I suggest you all step back. They retreat 30 yards, crouch behind a dirt berm. Maggie cranks the generator. Then she walks calmly to join them, checking her watch. 10 minutes pass. The forest is quiet except for bird song and the rustle of wind through pine branches. Tommy finds himself holding his breath. Beside him, Jacques grins. You are going to love this, kid. The explosion, when it comes, is not loud. It is felt. a concussive wave that hits the chest like a physical blow. The tree, easily 2 feet in diameter, simply ceases to exist at ground level. The trunk launches upward, hangs in the air for a surreal moment, then crashes down in a cloud of splinters and dirt. The ringing in Tommy's ears takes minutes to fade. Maggie walks back to where the tree stood. A crater 3 feet deep marks the spot. She turns to face the class. Precision, she says, not power. Precision. You do not need to destroy an entire bridge. You need to destroy the one support beam that makes the rest collapse. You do not need to demolish a factory. You need to destroy the one machine that stops production. She picks up a chunk of wood, examines it. I have killed men with explosives, more than I care to count. Some deserved it, some did not. That is the burden you will carry, but I will teach you to be precise, to make sure that when you act, it is the enemy who dies, not the innocent. Over the following weeks, they learn a new language: detonators, fuses, blast radius, shape charges, how to calculate the exact amount of explosive needed for a railway bridge versus a factory wall versus a fuel depot. They learn to make bombs from household materials: fertilizer and diesel fuel, sugar and potassium nitrate. Ingredients you could buy at any farm supply store combined in the right proportions become devastating weapons. The forests around Station Wolf echo daily with controlled explosions. The recruits practice in gullies where the sound is dampened, where curious locals will not investigate. They blow up mock railway lines, destroy replica bridges, learn to place charges that will derail a train using its own momentum as the trigger. Maggie is a demanding teacher, harsh when they are sloppy, generous with praise when they show understanding. She has killed with these methods. She knows the cost, and she is determined that her students will be better than she was. More precise, more careful, more aware of the line between necessary destruction and wanton violence. One afternoon, and after a particularly difficult exercise, Tommy stays behind to ask a question. The rest of the class has moved on to radio training. He and Maggie stand alone in the demonstration field, the smell of cordite still hanging in the air. "Ma'am, if I can ask, why did you leave the IRA?" She looks at him for a long moment, deciding whether to answer. Finally, she speaks. "I planned a bombing, a British patrol truck. Perfect target, military, legitimate. I set the charge to detonate when the truck passed a certain point. But the intelligence was wrong. The patrol was delayed. When the bomb went off, it was a civilian lorry, a family, father, mother, 3 children. Her voice does not waver, but her eyes are somewhere else. I pulled them from the wreckage. 2 of the children were still alive. For a few minutes, I held them while they died. After that, I could not keep fighting. Did not matter if the cause was just. I had crossed a line I could not uncross." Tommy says nothing. There is nothing to say. "That is why I teach precision," she continues. "Why I make you calculate and recalculate. Because once you set that charge, once you walk away, you cannot take it back. The explosion does not care about your intentions. It just destroys. You have to make sure it destroys the right thing." She meets his eyes. "You understand that, Reeves. I can see it. You have the same weight I carry. That is good. The ones who do not feel it, those are the dangerous ones." They walk back toward the barracks together. The sun is setting over the mountains, golden light on new leaves. The world is beautiful, and they are learning to destroy it piece by piece in the name of something they believe is worth the cost. In May, the training moves to Lake Champlain, maritime sabotage. The recruits learn to swim in water so cold it stops your breath. They learn to hold that breath while attaching magnetic mines to ship hulls. Learn to work in darkness by touch alone with numb fingers and burning lungs. Tommy nearly fails this phase. The first night exercise, he is paired with Jacques. They wade into the water at 2 in the morning. The air temperature is 50 degrees. The water is 45. Wearing only swim trunks and wool socks, carrying a practice mine made of wood and magnets. The cold is instant and total. Tommy gasps, forces himself to keep moving. They swim to the mock ship hull anchored 30 yards offshore. Dive under. Blackness, complete. The sound of his own heartbeat impossibly loud. The mine in his hands feels like lead. He fumbles for the hull, cannot find it. Lungs starting to burn, panic rising. He surfaces, gasping, the mine still in his hands. Jacques surfaces beside him, calm as glass. his mind already attached. What happened? I could not find it. Too dark. Could not see. You are thinking too much. Trust your hands. Trust your training. Try again. Tommy dives. Same result. Surfaces. Failure. On the third attempt, something changes. He stops trying to see. Stops trying to think. Just moves. Hands out. Feeling. The hull appears under his fingers. He places the mine. Feels the magnet's grip. Surfaces. Jacques is waiting, grinning. There you go, kid. Now do it 10 more times until you stop thinking at all. They spend 2 weeks in that freezing water. By the end, Tommy can attach a mine in complete darkness in under 90 seconds, can hold his breath for over 3 minutes, can ignore the cold and the panic and the voice in his head screaming to surface. He learns something important. His mind is his enemy. His training, his instincts, his body, those are his allies. When he overthinks, he fails. When he trusts the training, he succeeds. Garrison, watching from shore one morning, nods in approval. You are starting to understand, Reeves. Good. Because you are going to need to teach this someday. And you cannot teach what you do not understand. Tommy does not know what Garrison means, not yet, but the words stay with him. June 1941, a Wednesday morning. The recruits are assembled for what they think is another day of training. Instead, Thornton himself appears, a rare occurrence. The head of Station Wolf spends most of his time in New York managing the larger intelligence operation. His presence means something important is happening. With him is a British naval officer, commander's uniform, immaculate, 32 years old, aristocratic, bearing a cigarette holder clenched between his teeth even though it is 9 in the morning. This, Thornton announces, is Commander David Sterling, Royal Navy Intelligence. He will be observing our operations for the next 2 weeks. You will treat him with respect. You will also pretend he is invisible. Continue your training as normal. The officer Sterling simply nods. His eyes, sharp and observant, sweep across the assembled men. He is not here to inspect. He is here to study, to learn, to take something back with him. What he does not tell anyone, what only Thornton knows, is that Sterling is a writer at heart. And he sees in Station Wolf something that fascinates and horrifies him in equal measure. The future of warfare. Individual agents with extraordinary skills and tools, operating alone in enemy territory, bound by no rules except success. Years later, after the war, Sterling will publish novels under a different name, Ian Fleming. His character James Bond will be born from these 2 weeks at Station Wolf. The gadgets, the license to kill, the moral ambiguity, all of it drawn from what he observes on this quiet American farm. Tommy is assigned as Sterling's guide. Not an honor exactly, more a burden. He must continue his own training while also explaining everything to this British officer who asks endless questions and takes notes in a leather journal. On the third day, Sterling asks to see the special equipment workshop. Tommy leads him to a converted barn on the far edge of the property. Inside, it looks like a cross between a watchmaker's shop and a magician's studio. The head of the workshop is a former stage illusionist, a thin, nervous man named Kellerman, who traded jail time for this job. He demonstrates his creations with obvious pride, an exploding fountain pen. The cap unscrews to reveal a tiny detonator and powder charge. Throw it, count to 3, an explosion strong enough to kill or maim. A camera hidden inside a cigarette case. Functional. Takes actual photographs. The shutter sound masked by a fake cough. A collapsible crossbow that fits inside a briefcase. Silent. Lethal at 30 yards. Poison-tipped umbrella. Hollow pen that shoots cyanide darts. Suicide pills disguised as collar buttons. Sterling examines each piece with the attention of a jeweler evaluating diamonds. He asks technical questions. Takes detailed notes. His eyes shine with something like wonder. This is extraordinary, he murmurs. This is the future. Tommy watches him with growing unease. It is tricks, sir. Parlor magic for killers. Sterling looks up from a miniature camera. No, Sergeant. It is something else entirely. It is giving one man the power to do what an entire army cannot. It is making the individual as important as the institution. He sets down the camera, lights his cigarette. Do you know what terrifies me about this place? Sir, it proves that honor and rules were never what kept us civilized. They were just convenient when we could afford them. This place shows what humans can become when we strip all that away. And the terrifying part is how good you all are at it. Tommy has no response to that because Sterling is right. That evening, Sterling observes the interrogation resistance training. Recruits are subjected to stress positions, sleep deprivation, psychological pressure, preparing them for what will happen if the Gestapo captures them. Tommy volunteers as a subject, wants Sterling to see the full scope. He is placed in a stress position, arms extended, holding a brick in each hand, bright lights in his face, questions shouted over and over. Where is your team? Who is your handler? What is your mission? He has been trained to resist, to create a cover story in his mind and hold to it, to dissociate from the pain. But after 2 hours, his arms are on fire. His mind is fragmenting, and he is starting to understand how men break under real torture. After 8 hours, they release him. He collapses, can barely stand. Sterling helps him to a chair, offers water. That was remarkable, Sterling says quietly. Tommy drinks, his hands shake. That was nothing. The Gestapo will be worse, I believe it. Sterling pauses. Does it ever bother you? What you are learning to become? Every day, Tommy admits. Every single day, good Sterling says. The moment it stops bothering you is the moment you have lost yourself. Act 4, The Transformation, December 7th, 1941. A Sunday. The recruits are in the mess hall having breakfast. Pancakes, sausage, the smell of maple syrup and coffee. Normal sounds, laughter, the clatter of plates. Then someone turns on the radio. The announcement comes through static, tinny and distant, but unmistakable. Air raid on Pearl Harbor. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. The mess hall goes silent. Someone drops a fork. The metallic clatter echoes. For months, years, even they have been training for a war that was happening somewhere else. To someone else, in that moment, sitting in a warm building, eating pancakes, everything changes. The war has come to America. Tommy looks around the room, at faces that mirror his own shock. Then something else, a kind of terrible clarity. All the training, all the moral struggle, all the wondering if this was necessary. The question has been answered. Jacques catches his eye across the room. His expression is grim but determined. Now we know, his face seems to say. Now there is no doubt. President Roosevelt's speech reaches them the next day, a date which will live in infamy. The recruits and instructors gather in the main hall to listen. When FDR finishes, when he declares war on Japan, no one speaks. No one needs to. They all understand what this means. The training will accelerate. The deployments will begin. And some of them, many of them, will not come home. In January 1942, everything intensifies. Training cycles shorten from 10 weeks to 6. Recruitment expands. The OSS is officially formed. America finally has a centralized intelligence agency, and Station Wolf becomes its primary training facility. New instructors arrive. More barracks are built. The capacity doubles. At any given time, 200 men are now rotating through various stages of training. And Tommy Reeves is offered a choice. Garrison pulls him aside one February morning. They stand outside in the cold breath fogging. You have completed advanced training, Garrison says. Top of your class. We are deploying teams to Europe next month. You could go with them, be on the ground, use everything you have learned. But I think you are more valuable here, training the next 100 men, and the 100 after that. Tommy looks at the mountains, at the forest where he has trained for over a year. He thinks about Jacques, about the men he has trained alongside. They will go to Europe, fight, maybe die, and he will stay here, safe, teaching. It feels like cowardice. Garrison seems to read his thoughts. It is not cowardice, he says quietly. It is force multiplication. One man in the field can complete one mission. One good instructor can create 100 men who each complete a mission. You understand this work now? Not just the techniques, the philosophy, the weight. You can teach that. Most men cannot. Tommy is silent for a long moment. I want to go, he finally says. I want to fight beside them, I know. But I am asking you to do something harder. Stay. Each. Send other men to do what you want to do yourself. Carry that weight instead of the weight of action. Tommy meets the old man's eyes, sees in them decades of that exact burden. Garrison has trained thousands of men in Shanghai, and now here has sent them into danger. Watch some of them die. If I stay, Tommy says slowly, you tell me the truth. All of it, about this place, about what else is happening here. I know there are secrets. I can feel them. Garrison's expression flickers. Surprise, maybe? Or respect. When it is over, Garrison says, if we are both still alive, I will tell you everything. Deal, deal. They shake hands, and Tommy's path is set. He is 25 years old. He has learned to kill in a dozen different ways. And now he will teach others to do the same. His first class is in March. 32 new recruits. Farm boys and college students and former criminals. Men with clean hands and unclear consciences. He stands where Garrison stood 18 months ago, looks at faces that are younger than he feels, and he opens his mouth to give the speech. Forget everything the Army taught you. Fair fights are for dead men. But he cannot do it, cannot deliver those words with Garrison's cold detachment. Instead, he says something different. I am going to teach you things that will keep you awake at night, things that will make you question who you are. I know because I have been where you are sitting, but I will also tell you why, and I promise you this. I will not send you anywhere I would not go myself. I will teach you to survive, and I will remember your names. The class listens. Some faces show fear, some show determination. All of them show uncertainty. After the session, Garrison approaches. That was not the speech. No, sir. But it is the truth. Garrison almost smiles. You are better at this than I was, because you still remember what it felt like to be them. Over the following months, Tommy discovers he has a gift for teaching. Not because he is the best fighter or the most skilled with explosives, but because he can explain why each technique works, can show them the anatomy, the physics, the logic, can make them understand instead of just memorize. And he keeps his promise. He learns every name, remembers every face. When the first casualty reports start coming in that summer, when graduates begin dying in Europe, he adds their names to a list he keeps in his footlocker. Michael Chen, San Francisco, 23 years old, killed in Belgium, August 1942. Robert Martinez, Texas, 28 years old, killed in France, September 1942. The list grows. Each name is a weight. Each name is a man he taught, trained, sent into danger. This is the burden Garrison warned him about, the burden of the instructor. And Tommy carries it, but he is not entirely alone. Among the new arrivals that spring is a woman, Eleanor Chase, 26 years old, dark hair pulled back in a practical bun, keen eyes that miss nothing. She is assigned to the communications department, teaching Morse code, radio operation, cipher systems. Tommy meets her in late April. He needs to consult with communications about coordinating field tactics with radio protocols. They meet in her small office in the farmhouse. Maps on the walls, radio equipment on the desk, the smell of electrical components and coffee. She is all business at first, efficient, precise. They discuss technical details, frequencies, code systems, emergency protocols. But as they talk, Tommy realizes she is watching him with the same intensity she brings to everything, studying him. You were in the first class, she says, not a question. Yes, ma'am. And now you teach. Yes, ma'am. She nods slowly. That must be hard. Sending men you have trained into danger. It is the hardest thing I have ever done. She looks at him for a long moment. Then unexpectedly she smiles. It transforms her face, makes her look younger, almost vulnerable. I think you are good at it. The hard things. They begin meeting regularly, coordinating training, but the meetings stretch longer. Conversation drifts from technical matters to personal ones. Where they grew up, what they did before the war, what they hope to do after. They walk in the evenings by Lake Champlain. The smell of spring, new grass, pine sap warming in the sun, the sound of water on stones. Eleanor talks about her family, her brother who died at Dunkirk, 19 years old. She was not there, could not fight, but she could do this, could contribute, could make his death mean something. Tommy talks about his father, the photograph on the mantle, the legacy he never knew but always felt, how he came here to finish what his father started. They recognize each other, Two people fighting for the dead, carrying names and memories and obligations. One evening in June, as the sun sets orange over the water, Tommy kisses her. She tastes like coffee and hope. For a moment, Station Wolf does not exist. The war does not exist. There is just this, just them. What Eleanor does not tell him, what she cannot tell him, is that her job teaching communications is a cover. Her real work happens in the basement of that same farmhouse, in a place called Hydra, a signals intelligence station that is the true heart of Station Wolf. She lies to him every day, carries that secret like a stone, and knows that eventually, inevitably, he will discover the truth. And it will nearly destroy them. But for now, in the summer of 1942, they have stolen moments. Quiet mornings, evening walks, the illusion of normalcy in a place built on secrets and violence. In early autumn, the first teams deploy to Europe. Among them is Jacques Fontaine, Tommy's friend, his bunkmate from that first brutal winter. The night before Jacques leaves, they sit outside the barracks. The stars are thick overhead. They share a bottle of whiskey Tommy smuggles from town. "Remember when you puked after the pig test?" Jacques says, grinning. "Hard to forget. I knew then you would be all right. Anyone who could feel that bad and still finish that is someone who will do what needs doing." They sit in silence, both knowing this might be goodbye. "Come back," Tommy says. "I need someone to drink with when this is over." Jacques meets his eyes. "I will try, mon ami. But if I do not tell my sister I did something that mattered, tell her I was not just killing, I was stopping something worse." They shake hands, then embrace. Brothers in everything but blood. The team deploys on March 15th. Target the Vemork heavy water plant in Norway. Mission: sabotage the facility and cripple the Nazi atomic bomb program. For 9 days, Tommy hears nothing. 9 days of teaching classes while his mind is in Norway. 9 days of lying awake at night, wondering if Jacques is alive or dead. Eleanor watches him, wants to tell him what she knows, that she is tracking Jacques' radio signals in Hydra, that she has intelligence updates every few hours. But she cannot. The security protocols are absolute. On March 24th, word finally comes. Mission successful. Plant destroyed. Team extracted. 0 casualties. Eleanor finds Tommy teaching a knife class. Pulls him aside. "Your friend is safe. His team succeeded. How do you know? I cannot tell you that. Just trust me." Tommy does trust her. And in that moment, with relief flooding through him like a physical thing, he realizes something. He loves her. He does not say it. Not yet. But he knows it. And he knows that whatever happens, whatever secrets this place holds, he wants her in his life when all of this is over. When this is done, he says that evening, as they walk by the lake, "I want to buy a farm. A real one. Grow things instead of learning to destroy them." He looks at her. "I want you there." Eleanor smiles, but there is sadness in it, knowing what she knows, knowing what he does not. "I would like that," she says. And for now, that is enough. By the summer of 1942, Station Wolf has become something Thornton barely recognizes. What began as a desperate experiment has evolved into an industrial operation. 200 men rotating through training at any given time. Graduating 40 to 50 agents every 6 weeks. 3 additional barracks constructed. An expanded workshop. Indoor firing ranges for winter training. The instructors work 18-hour days. Tommy's hands bleed from demonstrating knife techniques to class after class. His voice goes hoarse from shouting instructions across training fields. He wakes at 4 in the morning and collapses near midnight, only to do it again the next day. Eleanor finds him one night in September, asleep at his desk in the instructor's office. Lesson plans scattered around him. A half-drunk cup of coffee gone cold. She covers him with a blanket, kisses his forehead, lets him sleep. She knows something he does not, something that keeps her awake at night in her own way. The war is accelerating. D-Day is being planned, and Station Wolf's graduates will be the invisible hand that makes the invasion possible. But first, they must survive long enough to get there. In August, the telegram arrives. The first Station Wolf graduate confirmed killed in action. His name is Michael Chen, 23 years old, from San Francisco, Chinese-American, brilliant with explosives, always asking questions, always talking about his mother's restaurant and the dim sum she made. He died in Belgium. Sabotage mission, captured by the Gestapo. Took his cyanide pill rather than talk under torture. There is no body to send home, no funeral. His family has been told he died in a training accident months ago. The truth of his sacrifice will remain classified for 50 years. Tommy organizes a memorial service by the lake. 30 men gather, no family, no civilians, just the instructors and the current class of recruits. People who understand what Michael Chen did, what he prevented by his silence even in death. Tommy speaks. His voice is steady, but his hands shake. Michael died so others could live free. That is all any of us can hope for. That our death means something. That it protects something worth protecting. He pauses, looks at the faces before him. Young faces, faces that will age rapidly in the months to come. I will carry his name. I will remember. And I ask you all to do the same. Remember the price. Remember why we pay it. That night, Tommy starts a list in a small notebook. Names of every graduate who dies. He will keep this notebook for the rest of his life. By war's end, there will be 23 names, 23 men he trained, 23 weights he carries. The losses continue through autumn. 2 more in September, 1 in October. Each telegram is a punch to the gut. Each name goes in the book. September brings another change. The first female agents arrive. 12 women from the SOEF section, destined for France, where they will operate as shopkeepers, teachers, nurses, moving through occupied territory in plain sight, invisible until the moment they strike. Some of the male instructors object. Garrison shuts down the complaints in one sentence delivered at a staff meeting. These women will do jobs you men cannot. They will move through France without suspicion. They will recruit resistance networks. And when the Gestapo comes, they will kill just as effectively as any man here. Probably more so. They have less ego to overcome. Tommy adapts his teaching for the women. Smaller frames require different techniques. Less reliance on strength. More emphasis on speed, surprise, leverage. The women learn faster than most of the men. No macho stubbornness to overcome. No need to prove themselves. Just pure focus on survival and mission success. One woman stands out, Genevieve Leroux, 28 years old, born in Paris. Her family is hiding Jews from the Nazis. She came to Station Wolf to learn how to protect them more effectively. After a knife training session, she approaches Tommy. Her English is accented but precise. Does it become easier? The killing Tommy considers lying, decides on truth instead. No, but you learn to live with it. That is not reassuring. It is not supposed to be. If it was easy, we would be monsters. She nods slowly, studies his face. You carry guilt. I can see it. Every day. Good. That means you are still human. She deploys to France in October. Tommy adds her name to his watch list. The list of people he prays will come home. By January 1943, 3 of the women are dead. Genevieve survives. Barely. Returns briefly for debriefing with stories that make even Garrison go pale. October 1942. Jacques returns. Tommy is teaching a class when he sees his friend walking across the compound. For a moment, he does not recognize him. Jacques has lost 20 pounds. His face is gaunt, hollow. His eyes have that 1,000-yard stare that Tommy has seen in other men who have been in the field. They embrace. Tommy can feel Jacques' ribs through his shirt. That night, they sit in the barracks. The same bunks they occupied 18 months ago. A bottle of whiskey between them. But the easy camaraderie is gone. Something in Jacques has broken. Or maybe just revealed itself under pressure. We killed 2 guards at Vimork. Jacques says, staring at nothing. Just kids, 19, maybe 20, had photos in their pockets. Girlfriends, families. You saved thousands, maybe millions if they had gotten the bomb. I know the math, Tommy, I know. But math does not make their faces go away. Math does not stop me from seeing them every time I close my eyes. Tommy has no answer. What can you say to that? That the mission was worth it. That the greater good justified the individual deaths. It is all true, and none of it helps. Jacques drinks, wipes his mouth. How many men have you trained now? Couple hundred. Then you are carrying what I am doing hundreds of times over. Every one of them you send out, you are responsible for what they do, what they become. How do you sleep? I do not. Much. They sit in silence. The kind of silence only shared between people who understand the same burden, the same guilt, the same necessary evil. You were right, Jacques finally says, about everything, about why we do this. But Tommy mon ami being right does not make it hurt less, I know. Jacques stays for 2 weeks, debriefing, medical checkups, psychological evaluation. Then he deploys again, back to Europe, back to the shadows. Tommy watches him go and knows with cold certainty that his friend will not survive the war. Some men break in obvious ways. Others break quietly internally and keep functioning until the moment they cannot anymore. Jacques is the second kind. Winter arrives. 1942 becomes 1943. The training continues. The deployments increase. The casualty reports accumulate. Tommy teaches. Eleanor coordinates. And the secret in the basement of the farmhouse grows larger, more important, more impossible to hide. Tommy has suspected for months that something else is happening at Station Wolf. Small things that do not quite add up. Eleanor disappearing at odd hours. The farmhouse basement being off limits. Construction crews working at night. The heavy electrical cables being brought in under cover of darkness. He ignores it, tells himself it is not his concern. His job is training. Everything else is above his clearance level. But in August 1943, insomnia drives him outside at 3 in the morning. He is thinking about the list in his notebook. 15 names now, 15 dead. Unable to sleep, he walks the compound, and he sees Eleanor, emerging from the farmhouse kitchen door at 3 in the morning, wearing headphones, carrying a logbook. She does not see him, walks quickly, purposefully back inside through a different entrance. The pantry door. Tommy waits 5 minutes, then follows. The pantry is just a pantry, shelves of canned goods, sacks of flour. But when he pushes on one shelf, it swings inward. A hidden door, stairs leading down. From below the sound of machinery, voices, radio static, Tommy descends. What he finds shatters everything he thought he knew about Station Wolf. A room, no multiple rooms, concrete reinforced. 12 radio stations along one wall. Women in headphones, most of them young, transcribing messages at incredible speed. Maps of Europe covering every surface. Pins marking locations. Colored strings connecting points. Equipment he has never seen. Oscilloscopes. Direction-finding gear. Decryption tables. And in the center, speaking rapid German into a microphone translating an intercept in real time, is Eleanor. She turns, sees him. Her face goes white. Tommy, you cannot be here. And not be, Then alarms, red lights, armed guards, actual armed guards with loaded weapons rushing in. Hands grab Tommy, pin his arms. Charles Thornton emerges from a side office. His expression is grim, but not surprised, as if he has been expecting this moment. Sergeant Reeves, he says calmly, I am afraid you have just made a very serious mistake. Act 6, The Truth Beneath. They take Tommy to Thornton's office, underground, a space he did not know existed. The walls are thick concrete, soundproofed. The desk is covered with intelligence reports, maps, decoded messages. Eleanor stands by the door. Her face is anguished. Garrison is summoned. Arrives within minutes, unsurprised, as if he has been part of this secret all along. Tommy sits across from Thornton. His mind is reeling, trying to process what he just saw. What you saw does not exist. Thornton begins. You understand? What the hell is this? Tommy's voice is harder than he intends. I have been here 2.5 years. Trained 400 men. And you have been running some kind of operation I knew nothing about. Thornton leans back, regards Tommy with something like sympathy. You have been doing exactly what we needed you to do. Training agents. That training is real. Those men you are sending to Europe, they are really fighting, really completing missions. But Station Wolf's primary mission is something else entirely. He stands, walks to a map on the wall, Europe covered in pins and markings. This farm is the signals intelligence hub for the entire Western Hemisphere. We intercept German U-boat transmissions, Japanese diplomatic cables, Wehrmacht communications, everything. We decode it, analyze it, and send it to Washington and London in real time. The intelligence gathered in this basement has saved thousands of lives, prevented ambushes, redirected convoys, compromised enemy operations. Tommy looks at Garrison. The old man nods. The training is cover, Garrison says quietly. Real training producing real results, but also the perfect misdirection. Explosions, gunfire, visible activity. Who would look for a radio operation under all that noise? Tommy turns to Eleanor. How long? Her voice is barely above a whisper. Since the day we met. You have been lying to me. Every day. I did not have a choice. There is always a choice. Not in war. Not when millions of lives depend on keeping a secret. Thornton interrupts. You have two options, Sergeant. One, you join the operation. Become the liaison between training and intelligence. You will know everything and be bound by it. Or two, you remain confined here until the war ends. Those are your only options. Tommy sits in silence. Processing. The betrayal burns. Eleanor's lies. Garrison's complicity. The fact that everything he thought he understood about this place was incomplete. But underneath the anger is something else. Understanding. If this intelligence operation is helping his graduates survive, if it is giving them better information, better odds, then maybe the lies were necessary. What do you need me to do? Thornton's shoulders relax slightly. Help us translate intelligence into actionable tactics. Every intercept we decode, you help us determine how field agents can use it. You bridge the gap between what we know and what they can do. Tommy nods slowly, looks at Eleanor. I need to talk to her. Alone. Thornton and Garrison leave. The door closes. Tommy and Eleanor stand facing each other in the underground office. I feel like I do not know you, Tommy says. So, you know the parts that matter. The professional lies were necessary. But what we have, that was real. She steps closer. Her eyes are wet. My brother died at Dunkirk. He was 19. I was not there. Could not fight. But I could do this. She gestures to the walls around them. Every message I intercept, every code I break, maybe it saves someone else's brother, someone else's son. That is why I am here. Why I lie, why I carry the secret. Tommy takes a breath. My father died in France, World War I. I never knew him. That is why I came here, to finish what he started. They look at each other, see the same grief, the same need to make death mean something. When this is over, Tommy says, I still want that farm. Real one. You and me. Eleanor moves to him, touches his face. I want that too. They kiss. Not the passionate kiss of new love. The deeper kiss of two people who have seen each other's worst parts and choose each other anyway. The next morning, Tommy begins his new role. He descends into Hydra, as the basement operation is called, and learns the full scope. 12 operators working 24 hours in shifts, intercepting 200 enemy messages daily. Direction-finding equipment that can pinpoint U-boat locations to within 10 miles. Decryption tables for German and Japanese codes. And most importantly, direct secure lines to Washington and London. Intelligence flowing both directions. Requests for specific information. Warnings about impending operations. Coordination at the highest levels. Tommy's job is to take raw intelligence and translate it into mission parameters. If Hydra intercepts a message about German troop movements in France, Tommy determines which Station Wolf graduates are positioned to exploit that information. If they decode Japanese shipping schedules, he coordinates with OSS to plan sabotage operations. For the first time, he sees the full picture. The training above ground produces the operatives. The intelligence below ground gives them the information they need to survive and succeed. Station Wolf is not just a school, it is an integrated intelligence and operations hub, and it is winning the war in ways the public will never know. Through late 1943 and into 1944, the pace accelerates. Allied Command is planning something massive. Tommy does not know the details, does not have clearance for the full scope, but he knows it involves France. Knows it will require unprecedented coordination, knows that Station Wolf's graduates will be critical. In January 1944, the order comes down. 100 agents needed in France by March. Mission parameters classified. But the training emphasis is clear. Railway sabotage, communication line cutting, coordinated demolition operations. Tommy drives his instructors and students harder than ever. 6-week cycles become 4 weeks. The washout rate increases, but the graduates are better prepared than ever before, because now Tommy can tell them, using intelligence from Hydra, exactly what they will face. where German units are positioned, what security measures are in place, how to maximize success and minimize casualties. In May, Hydra intercepts a message that changes everything, decoded by Eleanor herself working an overnight shift. The date and location of the planned Allied invasion, June 6th, Normandy. Eleanor brings the decrypt to Thornton and Tommy. The three of them stand in the Hydra command center, looking at the piece of paper that contains the most important secret of the war. "This is it," Thornton says quietly. "Everything we have built, everything we have done, comes down to this day." He looks at Tommy. "Your graduates are in position. 100 agents scattered across northern France. When we give the signal, they will execute the largest coordinated sabotage operation in history. They will sever every railway line, cut every telephone cable, destroy every fuel depot within a 100-mile radius of the beaches. And if they fail, then the invasion fails. German reinforcements reach Normandy. Allied troops are slaughtered on the beaches. We lose." "No pressure," Tommy says dryly. Thornton almost smiles. "No pressure at all." Act 7, The Reckoning, June 5, 1944, 28 hours before H-hour. Tommy stands in the Hydra command center, headphones on, Eleanor beside him coordinating radio frequencies. Around them, the 12 operators are at full alert, every station manned, every frequency monitored. At 2 in the morning, Thornton gives the order. "Transmit the activation code." Eleanor sends the message. 5 words in French. Innocent sounding, meaningless to anyone listening. But to the 100 Station Wolf graduates hiding in France, the words mean everything. The dice are rolled. Across France, agents emerge from hiding. From barns and cellars and safe houses, they retrieve cached equipment, check their explosives, synchronize their time pencils, and move toward their targets. Tommy listens to the radio chatter. Coded updates every 15 minutes. The plan designed by Maggie Winters months ago is a masterpiece of coordination. 47 separate railway lines to be destroyed within a 90-minute window. Timing is critical. Too early and the Germans will repair the damage. Too late and reinforcements will already be moving. The first report comes at 0230, Alpha Team, railway demolished. 0 casualties. Then more, like dominoes falling. Bravo Team, communications cables cut. Germans are blind. Charlie Team, fuel depot destroyed. Team extracting. Delta Team, engaging, stand by. Delta Team is Jacques Fontaine's unit. Tommy's hands tighten on the radio log. Eleanor touches his arm gently. "They are trained for this. I trained them. If they die, it is because I did not train them well enough. That is not how this works." The reports keep coming. Success after success, Maggie's demolition plans working perfectly, synchronized time pencils detonating within seconds of each other across 100 miles. German panzer divisions cannot move, cannot coordinate, cannot reach the beaches where in a few hours Allied troops will be landing. Then at 0347, Delta Team calls in again. Jacques' voice strained but recognizable, even through static and encryption. "Control, this is Delta. Mission accomplished. Enemy ammunition dump destroyed. But we have casualties. Heavy." Tommy grabs the microphone. His hands shake. Delta reports status. Static. Then quieter. "Team leader critical. Bleeding out. No medic available." Team leader. Jacques. Tommy's vision tunnels. Eleanor's hand on his shoulder is the only thing keeping him grounded. "Jacques," he says, voice-breaking protocol using his friend's real name. "Can you hear me?" More static. Then faint. "Tommy, that you, mon ami." "Hold on, we are sending extraction." A wet cough, the sound of pain. "No time. Tell my sister. Tell her I did something that mattered." The same words from 2 years ago. The promise made on the night before Jacques first deployed. Full circle. "Jacques, please." And Tommy. Another cough. "You were right about everything. Worth it. All of it worth." The signal dies. Tommy stands frozen. The radio silent. Around him, the operators continue their work. More reports, more successes. The mission is working. The sabotage is complete. In 18 hours, Allied command will confirm that German reinforcements were delayed by exactly the predicted amount. The beachhead will be secured. Station Wolf's invisible hand has made D-Day possible. But Tommy does not hear any of it. He stands with a dead radio in his hand and the weight of another name for his notebook. Jacques Fontaine, 34 years old. Friend, brother. Eleanor leads him from the command center. Up the stairs, outside where dawn is breaking cold and clear over Lake Champlain. The same view they have shared for 2 years. The same water that witnessed their first kiss. He did what he was trained to do, Eleanor says softly. He saved thousands of lives, I know. He died believing it mattered. It did matter. Tommy's voice cracks, but that does not make it hurt less. They stand together, watching the sun rise on the day that will change the war, the day that will justify everything Station Wolf has done, every moral compromise, every life spent, every secret kept. Tommy opens his notebook, adds the 23rd name, the last name, because after D-Day, after the invasion succeeds, the need for this kind of operation will diminish. The war in Europe will become conventional again, and Station Wolf will begin its transformation into something else. August 1945. The war ends, Japan surrenders. Station Wolf's mission is complete. 500 agents trained, 23 killed in action, countless enemy operations disrupted, hundreds of successful missions. The impossible school has exceeded every expectation. In September, President Truman disbands the OSS, but the lessons remain. The techniques, the philosophy, the understanding that future wars will require this kind of capability. In 1947, the CIA is formed, and Charles Thornton, Robert Garrison, Thomas Reeves, and Eleanor Chase are all recruited to help build it. Station Wolf's curriculum becomes the foundation. The Farmington, Virginia official CIA training facility is Station Wolf's direct descendant. Tommy accepts the position, brings the lessons learned to official doctrine, trains the next generation of American intelligence officers, and every class he tells them about the weight, about the moral burden, about remembering names. Eleanor joins the newly formed NSA, pioneering signals intelligence for the Cold War. They marry in 1946, a small ceremony, just Thornton and Garrison as witnesses. In January 1946, Station Wolf receives its final order, complete erasure. All records transferred to CIA control, classified top secret, buildings demolished, land sold. The farm that changed history must be erased from history. Tommy walks the grounds one last time before the demolition crews arrive, stands at the spot where he killed his first pig, where he transformed from a lumberjack into something else, where he learned that good men can do terrible things when necessary. Garrison finds him there. Regrets the old man asks, Tommy considers, every day, but I would do it again. That is the burden. Garrison's voice is tired, ancient, knowing it was necessary but never forgetting the bond. They walk back together, two men who have trained killers, who have sent men to die, who carry the weight of names and faces and necessary evil. The demolition takes 3 weeks. By March, Station Wolf is gone. Just empty land, no trace of what happened there. The secret is buried with the rubble. For 50 years it remains buried, until 1995. When declassification finally reveals the truth, when the world learns about the secret farm, when veterans can finally tell their families what they did, Tommy and Eleanor, now 78 and 80, return to the site. It is a state park now, quiet, peaceful. A single plaque marks the spot, site of World War II training facility. Nothing more. They stand holding hands, looking at Lake Champlain, the same view that witnessed their transformation from innocence to experience, from individuals to something larger. Do you think we were the good guys, Eleanor asks? Tommy has spent 50 years thinking about this question. I think we were necessary. That is the best answer I have. Eleanor nods. That is all any of us can ask. They drive home as the sun sets, two old people who carry secrets and scars and the knowledge that they helped save the world. Not in the way movies portray, not with glory or recognition, but in the shadows, in the silence, with the weight of names and the burden of necessary evil. That night, Tommy sits in his study, opens the old notebook. 23 names. He knows their faces, their stories, their dreams. He carries them all. And he has always known that this is the price of freedom. Not flags and parades and monuments, but quiet men and women who do terrible things so others do not have to. who carry the weight in silence, who sacrifice not just their lives but their innocence, their peace, their certainty that they are good. Station Wolf trained 500 agents. 23 died. The rest survived, came home, built lives, carried secrets, and slowly, one by one, took those secrets to their graves. But the legacy remains in the CIA, in Special Operations Doctrine, in the understanding that sometimes the defense of civilization requires uncivilized methods, and that the people who employ those methods must never forget what they cost. This is the lesson of Station Wolf. Not that good men can become killers, but that they can remain good men even after killing, if they remember, if they carry the weight, if they never stop asking whether it was worth it. Tommy closes the notebook, looks at the photograph on his desk. Eleanor Young standing by Lake Champlain, smiling, before she knew the full weight she would carry. It was worth it, he whispers to the empty room, to the ghosts, to the names in his book. It was necessary, and I am sorry. The ghosts do not answer. They never do, but he feels them there. Jacques, Michael, all 23, standing with him, sharing the burden, proving that even in darkness, even in the shadows, there was light. There was purpose. There was sacrifice that meant something. And that in the end is all any of them could ask. The greatest generation fought on beaches and in skies, but some fought in shadows, and their sacrifice hidden for 50 years was no less real, no less noble, no less American. Station Wolf. The farm that never existed. The school that trained assassins. The place where good men learned to do terrible things for a cause they believed in. It is gone now, erased. But the lesson remains. Freedom is not free, and sometimes the price is paid not in blood on a battlefield, but in darkness, in silence, by people whose names will never be known, who carry the weight so others do not have to. That is the American way. Not because we are perfect, but because we are willing to bear the burden of imperfection, to do what is necessary, and to remember always the cost. Tommy Reeves understood this, carried it for 60 years, and when he died in 2003 at age 86, he was buried with full honors. But the truth of what he did, the weight he carried, only a few people knew. Station Wolf trained him well, not just to kill, but to carry the weight of killing. And in that weight, in that burden, lies the difference between warrior and monster. The farm is gone, the secrets declassified, the veterans mostly dead, but the lesson endures, written not in monuments or textbooks, but in the quiet conscience of men and women who did what was necessary and never forgot the cost. That is the legacy of Station Wolf, and it deserves to be remembered.